The frozen planet Varian 6 was quiet most of the year, but tonight, an unnatural ice storm roared across the land. Ice needles flew through the air like sharp arrows. The ground shook from cold winds that sounded like angry spirits. Even the mountains seemed afraid. Through this deadly storm walked Lyra, a tall alien woman with pale blue skin. Her species, the Varians, were known for being calm and emotionless. They believed emotions made a person weak. But tonight, Lyra felt something she had never felt before. Fear. Her small child, Nero, had gone missing during the earlier snow shift. Children often wandered, but this storm was not normal. Legends said a storm like this appeared only when something ancient under the ice. Awakened. Lyra whispered her child's name again and again, her voice shaking. "Nero, please answer." But the storm swallowed every sound. Her long cloak blew behind her as she walked deeper into the white darkness. She knew she was risking her life. Varian bodies were not strong in extreme cold. Their blood cooled quickly. Their bones froze easily. But none of that mattered. She was a mother first, even if her species pretended not to feel. Nero was the only thing she had left in this world. Suddenly she heard something strange. Footsteps. Not light, Varian footsteps. Not soft animal steps. These were heavy, powerful, fast. Thud. 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 Lyra froze. Her breath clouded in the air. Something was moving toward her through the storm. Something large. Her heart, something she rarely felt, raced inside her chest. The storm screamed louder, and she saw a glowing shape moving through the snow. A tall silhouette. Human shape. But larger, broader. Her people called them Deathworlders, creatures from a violent planet. Creatures who survived poisonous lands, burning deserts, and storms far worse than this one. They were dangerous. They were unpredictable. And they were never seen this deep on Varian 6. Lyra stepped back, panic rising. "Stay away," she whispered, even though the wind carried her voice away. Then she heard a sound that stabbed her heart, a child screaming, "Nero." She turned her head sharply. The scream came from the ridge behind her. "Nero." She cried and ran toward the sound. Her feet slid on the frozen ground, almost falling, but she did not stop. She reached the ridge, and her heart shattered. Nero was trapped. Half of his body was stuck under a thick sheet of cracked ice. His eyes were closed. His small hands were shaking. The storm blew around him like a living monster, attacking him with freezing winds. Lyra tried to pull the ice with her bare hands, but it was too thick. Her fingers went numb instantly. The storm was killing her child, second by second. "No. Please no," she whispered, her voice breaking for the first time in her life. And then, thud, thud, thud. The heavy steps came closer. Lyra turned, expecting a beast. Or a human attacker. Instead, she saw a towering figure walk out of the storm, a human, a real Deathworlder. He wore a heated armored suit that glowed with orange lights. Snow melted before touching him. His breath fogged the mask he wore. His eyes, sharp, alert, focused, looked a trapped child, not at Lyra. He didn't threaten. He didn't hesitate. He ran straight to the ice. Lyra stared, confused. Humans were supposed to be violent. They were supposed to think only about survival. Why would he help a Varian child? The human knelt beside Nero and slammed his heated glove on the ice. The metal hissed, cutting through the frozen layer. He pushed again. This time harder. Cracks spread like lightning across the surface. Lyra stood frozen, shocked at his strength. The storm roared louder, throwing sharp ice shards. One shard cut the human's shoulder armor. He ignored it and kept breaking the ice. Finally, the ice shattered. The human scooped Nero into his arms, shielding the small boy with his own body. Nero was unconscious, but alive. Lyra's eyes widened. She had never seen someone risk their life for another species. Not on Varian 6. Not in her world. The ground suddenly shook beneath them. Another crack tore through the ice. Spreading across the ridge, under the frozen surface, something enormous shifted. Something ancient. Something waking. The human looked at Lyra and shouted through the storm, voice deep and urgent. "Move, now!" Lyra hesitated for only a second, then she ran beside him. The storm screamed louder, and deep below the ice, glowing blue eyes opened. The storm raged harder as Lyra and the human ran across the cracking ice. The loud rumble beneath their feet felt like a giant heartbeat waking from a long sleep. Lyra kept looking back at her unconscious child in the human's arms. The way the human held Nero carefully, protectively felt strange to her. Varians never touched each other with such care. The human moved with surprising speed. His armored boots dug into the snow, keeping balance even when the ice tilted and shook. Lyra struggled to keep up, but he slowed just enough so she wouldn't fall behind. They reached a small area where the ice was thicker and less likely to break. The human gently lowered Nero onto a flat rock covered in frost. Lyra rushed to her child, touching his face with trembling hands. His skin was cold, but he was breathing. She looked up at the human, confusion and fear mixing inside her. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The human removed his snow mask. Underneath was a face tired from the storm, but calm and warm. His short dark hair was wet from melted snow, and a faint scar crossed his cheek. His eyes, brown and steady, studied her carefully. "My name is Mark Ellis," he said. His voice was deep but gentle. "I'm an explorer. Research mission from Earth." Earth, the word alone sent a shiver through Lyra's body. Her people told stories about that world: hot jungles, deadly animals, violent storms. And humans who survived all of it. Deathworlders, monsters of survival. Yet this human did not look like a monster at all. Lyra took a step back. Why did you save my child?" "You don't know us." Mark wiped snow from his gloves. "He was in danger," he answered simply. "That's enough." Lyra stared at him, surprised. Compassion was not a familiar concept to her people. They believed each life was responsible only for itself. No one risked their life for someone outside their tribe, let alone another species. But this human had jumped into the storm for a child he didn't know. "Your suit," Lyra said. "It protected you from the ice." Mark nodded. "It's a heat suit, designed for extreme cold planets." "What was your child doing out here?" Lyra lowered her eyes. "He wandered during the snow shift. I went to look for him. But the storm grew too fast. Too strong." Mark frowned. "This storm shouldn't exist. My data showed normal weather patterns. Something is wrong with the ground." As if answering his words, a loud crack echoed beneath them. Thum! The ice shook violently. Mark immediately grabbed Nero again. "We need shelter, now." Lyra followed without question. The wind howled around them like a beast hunting its prey. Snow hit their faces like tiny blades. As they ran, Mark kept Nero close to his chest, shielding him from the cold. Lyra found herself watching the human more than the storm. His steps were slow but steady. His arms didn't shake despite the weight. His eyes were sharp, always scanning the land for danger. He truly was a deathworlder, but he was not cruel. Not violent. Not like the stories said. They reached a rocky archway where a collapsed cave created a small shelter. They ducked inside. The storm outside still roared, but inside, the air was calmer. Mark laid Nero on the ground and activated a small portable heater. Warm air spread slowly around the cave. Lyra knelt beside her child, brushing his hair gently. Mark checked Nero's breathing again. "He's cold, but he'll recover. Just needs warmth." Lyra's voice cracked. "Thank you, human." He raised an eyebrow. "Just call me Mark." She hesitated. Saying a human name felt strange on her tongue. Mark, he smiled faintly. Better. Lyra sat silently for a moment, thinking about everything that had just happened. Humans, she said softly, are known to be dangerous. Mark chuckled. We are. Sometimes. But we also help. Sometimes too much. Lyra looked at him with a hint of curiosity. Why help someone not from your world? Mark paused, then answered, because life is life. Doesn't matter what form it comes in. Lyra felt something tighten in her chest. She didn't understand the feeling, but it was warm. Suddenly, boom. The ground shook so hard that cracks crawled along the cave walls. Mark stood up instantly. His face turned serious. It's moving again. Lyra's heart raced. What is moving? Mark looked toward the cave entrance. Something big. And it's coming toward us. Then they heard it. A deep, ancient growl echoing under the ice. The storm wasn't their only enemy. Something alive was searching for them. The cave trembled again. Small pieces of ice fell from the ceiling. Lyra clutched Nero tightly, whose small body still shivered. Mark held his heat gloves up, scanning the ice outside. His eyes narrowed. The storm howled like a living beast, but the sound below, the growl, was deeper. Older, more terrifying. Lyra, Mark said, voice low but firm. We need to move, now. She hesitated. Her eyes were fixed on the jagged ice ridge beyond the cave. The ice there cracked and glowed faintly blue. Something massive stirred beneath it. Mark! What is that? She asked. Her voice trembled. He looked at her seriously. An ice creature. Huge. Dangerous. Not normal for this planet. It's awake because of the storm. And it's hunting. Lyra felt a chill not from the cold, but from fear. Her species had never seen a creature this large. Legends spoke of ancient ice guardians, enormous beasts sleeping under Varian 6's frozen surface. They were thought to be extinct or myths. Yet one was awake, glowing under the ice, searching for prey. The rumbling grew louder. The ground shook violently. Small ice spikes fell from the ridge outside, like sharp spears. Mark moved first, lifting Nero and motioning for Lyra to follow. Hold him tight, he instructed. Don't stop for anything. Lyra followed, dragging her legs through the snow and ice. Her heart pounded. The human moved with impossible strength, cutting a path through broken ice with his heat gloves. Sparks hissed when his gloves touched frozen shards, melting them instantly. Nero groaned, stirring in Mark's arms. The boy's small eyes blinked open, confused and scared. Lyra whispered softly, It's okay, Nero. We're safe now. Almost. Mark glanced at her. No one is safe until we leave this ridge. The ground cracked louder beneath them. A huge fissure opened near their path. Lyra froze. Her child slipped slightly in Mark's arms. The human didn't flinch. He caught Nero in one swift motion. The ice below them trembled violently. Glowing blue eyes opened beneath the fissure. The creature was enormous long limbs and jagged spikes of ice on its back. Its roar echoed through the storm, shaking the very air. Mark's eyes met Lyra's. Run! He shouted. They sprinted across the ridge. The ice groaned under every step, small shards breaking away and falling into darkness below. Lyra's legs ached, her lungs burned, but she didn't stop. Every second counted. Every second meant life or death for Nero. Suddenly, a piece of ice broke beneath Lyra's feet. She screamed. Mark lunged forward, catching her arm with one hand while still holding Nero with the other. His strength was incredible. He pulled her onto solid ground in one motion. Thank you. She gasped, heart racing. Mark shook his head. No time. Focus on the path. The storm whistled around them, blinding them with snow. The ice beneath them cracked more violently. Lyra saw long cracks forming like glowing veins across the frozen landscape. The creature below roared again, its glowing eyes scanning for movement. Mark looked around, calculating. There! A frozen cave entrance. Shelter for now. They dashed to the cave, every step shaking from the ice below. Lyra stumbled, nearly falling, but Mark grabbed her hand. Nero clutched his collar tightly, crying softly. Once inside the small cave, they dropped to the ground. Mark placed Nero safely between them. Lyra crouched, brushing snow from his face. "He's so small," she whispered, almost to herself. Mark nodded. "And we almost lost him. That storm isn't natural. That creature isn't natural. Something awakened it. We need to be careful." Lyra studied the human. His face, covered in frost, looked calm despite everything. She had never seen such courage. "Such compassion. You're kind," she murmured. "Humans. You are stronger than we imagined, and yet you care." Mark glanced at her, faintly smiling. "Care? That's what keeps us alive. Life matters, even for someone not from our world." A loud crash outside made them both jump. Ice fell from the cave roof. The storm screamed louder, and the creature's rumble echoed through the frozen mountains. Lyra held Nero closer. Her mind raced. She had always believed in strength and survival alone. But now she understood something new: compassion, bravery, sacrifice, and humans embodied all of it. Mark checked his heat gloves and motioned toward a narrow passage leading deeper into the mountain. "This way. If we move fast, we might outrun it, or at least survive longer." Lyra nodded, swallowing fear and doubt. She picked up Nero in her arms. Her species had never done this, protecting someone so completely. Yet she understood instinctively. Life was worth fighting for. The ice outside cracked again. The glowing blue eyes of the beast pierced the darkness. It had seen them. Mark led the way. Lyra followed. And deep inside her, a new feeling began to grow, a feeling she had never known before. Hope. The narrow passage inside the mountain was dark and cold, but at least it shielded them from the roaring storm outside. The glowing blue eyes of the ice creature could still be seen faintly through cracks in the ridge. Every tremor reminded them that it was hunting. Lyra held Nero close, feeling his little heart beat rapidly against her chest. Mark walked ahead, careful with each step. He had studied hundreds of worlds like this one, but Varian 6 was different. The ice, the storms, and the awakened creature below were unpredictable. He kept checking the path, scanning for unstable ice or falling debris. Lyra followed silently, thinking about what had just happened. Humans were supposed to be violent, dangerous, even selfish. And yet, Mark risked his life for her child without hesitation. He was not her enemy. He was her savior. "Why do you help?" she finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why save someone not from your world?" Mark paused, looking back at her with steady brown eyes. "Because life matters," he said simply. "Even when it's not yours." Lyra frowned. Her people did not think like that. Varians believed survival was personal. You cared for your family, your tribe, and no one else. Humans seemed different. She didn't fully understand, but something inside her stirred. Nero stirred in her arms, weak but conscious. He looked at Mark and smiled faintly. Lyra's heart warmed. The child trusted him completely. Somehow, even in the middle of a deadly storm, Mark had become a hero in Nero's eyes. Suddenly, the passage narrowed. Sharp icicles hung from the ceiling. The ground was slippery. Lyra stumbled, but Mark reached out instantly, catching her arm. "Careful," he said. "One wrong step and you could fall into the cracks below." The child's small voice called out, "Mama." Lyra bent over him. "I'm here, Nero. We're safe. For now." Mark studied the passage ahead. "The creature is following us," he said. "It knows we're here. We have to reach the alien station further down the canyon. It's abandoned, but it might provide shelter and tools." Lyra looked at him, uncertainty in her eyes. "Station? What kind of station?" "Ancient Varian technology," Mark explained. "Probably built for research or survival. It should have energy shields or barriers. If we can get there, the creature might not reach us." Lyra swallowed. "How far?" "About a mile through the canyon," he said. "We have no time. The ice is cracking behind us. That creature isn't patient." They began moving again. Lyra held Nero close, and Mark took the lead, clearing a safe path. The canyon walls were jagged, sharp, and unstable. Every step sent small rocks tumbling. The storm outside made the path slippery, but Mark's heat gloves melted ice spikes before they could block the way as they walked. Lyra asked quietly, "Mark, humans, are you always like this? Brave, compassionate?" He gave a faint smile. "Sometimes. It depends on what's important. I choose to protect life when I can. Some don't, some take. Some fight only for themselves. But not all humans are like that. Some are better." Lyra thought about her people and their strict rules of survival. She realized her view of humans had changed in a few short hours. Compassion, bravery, sacrifice, these things were real. And humans embodied them. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from the canyon floor. Lyra froze. Mark instantly lifted Nero. "Fissures!" he shouted. "The ice is breaking beneath us." They moved faster, slipping over broken ice and frozen rocks. The canyon seemed endless. The storm tried to push them back, but Mark's determination never wavered. He shielded Nero, helped Lyra, and guided them forward with skill born of survival on death worlds. Lyra watched him closely. For the first time, she understood courage differently. Not the quiet, emotionless strength of her people, but the strength to risk everything for someone else. To face danger for life, not glory or pride. "Almost there," Mark said. "The station is just beyond that ridge." The passage narrowed further. Shadows from jagged walls made them look like giants. The sound of the creature beneath the ice was louder now, a deep, furious growl. Lyra felt the ground shake again. The canyon was dangerous, but Mark never stopped. He never hesitated. Finally, through the falling snow and broken ice, a faint glow appeared ahead. The alien station. Its doors were half buried in frost, but the energy from within flickered faintly. Shelter. Safety. Hope. Lyra looked at Mark. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice almost breaking. Mark nodded, focused on the ridge. "We're not safe yet, but we will be." As they approached the station, the storm outside seemed to howl louder in protest. The ice creature's growl echoed even louder beneath the ground. Time was running out. Every step mattered. Every second counted. Lyra hugged Nero tighter. Her heart was no longer filled with fear alone. It was filled with trust in this human, in their mission, and in the possibility of survival. And as the first doors of the station loomed before them, she realized something incredible. She was witnessing something her people never understood. Humans could be heroes. The alien station's doors were frozen shut, half buried in ice and glinting under the storm's pale light. Lyra, holding Nero close, followed Mark as he tried to clear the entrance with his heat gloves. Sparks hissed as metal met ice, melting just enough to pry the doors open. Inside, it was dark, but calmer than the roaring storm outside. The cold still bit at their skin, but at least they were sheltered from falling ice shards. Mark placed Nero gently on the floor and activated a small heat lamp, spreading warmth across the room, but there was no time to rest. The ground outside continued to tremble. Lyra could hear the deep growl echoing from the ice below, louder and angrier. The creature was hunting them, and it would not stop. "We can't stay here," Mark said. "It's too small and unstable. We need to move through the canyon to reach the main station deeper inside the mountain. It's our best chance." Lyra nodded. She had never run like this before, but she followed him without hesitation. Nero clung to her, still weak but gaining strength from the warmth of their brief shelter. The canyon outside was a frozen nightmare. Ice spikes fell like spears from above, and snow swirled in a blinding white whirlwind. Every step was a risk. One false move, one broken piece of ice, and they could fall into the freezing abyss below. Mark led the way, carefully calculating each step. His heat gloves melted jagged ice before it could trap them. His boots dug into frozen ground, giving stability. His eyes scanned every ridge, every crack, every shadow. Lyra followed, amazed at his speed and strength. She realized she had never seen anyone move like this, not even the strongest Varian hunters. Suddenly, a massive ice spike broke from above, falling directly toward Nero. Lyra screamed. Mark reacted instantly, shielding the boy with his own body. The spike shattered against the heat shield on his arm. Sparks flew, and Mark barely held his balance. "Keep moving," he shouted over the wind. The canyon narrowed. Ice walls rose on either side, jagged and unstable. Small tremors shook the ground, causing cracks to widen. Lyra slipped, but Mark grabbed her arm in a lightning-fast motion, holding her steady. Nero, clinging to her neck, whimpered, "Almost there." Mark yelled, "The main station is ahead." But the ice below began to crack dangerously. Large fissures opened, glowing faintly with blue light. The creature beneath them was awake and angry, sensing their movement. Its deep growl echoed, shaking the canyon walls. Lyra's heart raced. She had never felt fear like this, yet she also felt a strange warmth in her chest. Watching Mark risk everything for her child, for her, she realized that courage could take many forms. Strength was not just survival, it was compassion, sacrifice, and action. Humans were capable of all of it. A huge piece of ice broke from the canyon wall. Lyra stumbled. Mark caught her with one hand while still holding Nero in the other. His muscles flexed, moving like a machine fueled by determination and care. "Focus on the station," he shouted. "Don't look down." Lyra took a deep breath, blocking out fear, and ran. Every step counted. Every movement mattered. The storm tried to push them back, but they pressed forward. Sparks flew from Mark's gloves as he destroyed dangerous ice shards in their path. At last, the main station loomed before them, a vast structure carved into the mountain. Energy lights flickered inside, promising safety and warmth. The entrance was massive, and Mark pried it open with the heat of his gloves. They entered, finally sheltered from the storm. Lyra collapsed near Nero, breathing heavily. Mark placed the boy safely on a padded floor. "He's safe now," he said. "For a little while at least." Lyra looked at Mark, awe and gratitude filling her eyes. You saved him. You saved both of us. I've never seen anyone like you." Mark shrugged lightly. "Humans survive, yes. But we also protect. That's what makes us different. That's what keeps life alive." The deep growl of the creature echoed faintly from outside. It had not given up. The ice below continued to crack, reminding them that their danger was not over. But for now, they were alive. Lyra hugged Nero, feeling a warmth she had never known before. The storm outside raged, but inside, a bond had formed, a bond between two worlds. Two species, united by courage, compassion, and the fight for life. For the first time, she understood. Humans were not just survivors. They were heroes. The main station provided shelter, but it was temporary. The storm outside still raged, and the ice below trembled with the creature's deep, furious growl. Lyra clutched Nero close. Feeling the boy's small body shiver despite the warmth, Mark scanned the room quickly, noting the station's energy core and control panels. "If we can restart the power core, we might activate a shield or barrier," he said. "It won't stop the storm outside, but it could keep the creature from breaking in." Lyra nodded, watching as he moved with careful precision. Mark's hands, gloved in heat-resistant armor, manipulated alien panels with surprising ease. Sparks flew, wires hummed, and small screens flickered to life, but the creature was relentless. A deafening crash shook the station as ice broke outside. The creature had reached the outer walls. The building trembled violently. Small shards of ice pierced through cracks in the metal. "It's breaking through!" Lyra shouted, her voice tight with fear. Mark's eyes hardened. "We don't have much time. We need to hold it off long enough for the core to start." He grabbed a heavy metal rod, standing between the creature's point of entry and the rest of the station. The beast smashed against the outer wall, ice and metal spraying across the room. Lyra instinctively moved Nero behind her, keeping him safe. Mark swung the rod, hitting falling ice shards and redirecting them safely away from the child. He shouted instructions to Lyra. "Block the entrance if you can. Anything to slow it down." Lyra hesitated. Her species never fought for others. They ran, they survived. But watching Mark risk everything for her, Nero and her stirred something she had never felt. Compassion, bravery, responsibility. With a deep breath, she grabbed a heavy piece of debris and shoved it into the widening gap in the wall. The ice shifted, slowing the creature for a moment. Sparks and cold mist filled the air, but they held. Mark took the opportunity. He connected the last cable to the power core. The station hummed, lights flashing, and the control panels glowed steadily. Slowly, a faint energy shield began forming around the station. The outer walls glimmered with a protective barrier. The creature roared, thrashing violently. Its massive limbs smashed against the shield, cracking metal and spraying ice. But it could not penetrate. The shield held barely. Lyra breathed heavily, glancing at Mark. You saved us again." He shook his head. "No, we saved ourselves. You fought too. You helped Nero survive. That matters as much as anything else." The boy, now alert, peeked from behind Lyra. He smiled faintly, seeing the two protectors who had risked everything. Lyra's heart ached with gratitude. This human, this stranger, had changed her view of life, of courage, and of compassion. The station trembled again. The creature had not given up. Its glowing blue eyes peered through cracks in the shield. Lyra's hands tightened around Nero. She realized something crucial. Survival wasn't enough. She had to act, fight, protect, and endure. "Mark, we can't just hide," she said, voice firm for the first time. "We have to help him trap it completely." Mark nodded. "I was hoping you'd say that." Together they moved. Lyra pulled levers and smashed control panels, redirecting energy flows to create traps. Mark coordinated, guiding her movements while shielding Nero. Sparks and ice flew around them, the station trembling under the creature's assault. Finally, the energy trap was ready. Mark pressed the final button. A pulse of blue energy shot across the ice outside. The creature howled, thrashing violently, but the pulse froze it in place. Its limbs stiffened, spikes locked solid, and the massive body became immobile. Lyra sank to her knees, breathing heavily. Nero ran into her arms, laughing softly. "We did it, Mama." Mark looked at her, smiling faintly despite the exhaustion. "We did it together. That's what matters." For the first time, Lyra truly understood humans. Bravery, compassion, sacrifice, action. Mark had shown all of it. And now, for the first time in her life, she felt pride, not just for survival, but for helping another being live. The storm outside slowly began to calm, the creature frozen and the shield holding strong. Lyra hugged Nero tightly, glancing at Mark. I've never seen anyone like you, she said softly. Never anyone who could fight and care. At the same time, Mark's eyes softened. That's what humans do. Outside, the ice crackled faintly, but the immediate danger had passed. Inside the station, warmth and safety filled the room. Lyra realized she had witnessed something extraordinary, a bond between worlds. A human hero whose courage and compassion could change lives, even alien lives. And for Lyra, the memory of this day, of this human, would never fade. The storm had finally begun to calm outside. The frozen winds were still strong, but no longer violent enough to shred the canyon walls or threaten the station. The massive ice creature remained trapped, frozen solid by the energy pulse Mark and Lyra had activated. Its glowing blue eyes stared into nothingness, a reminder of the danger they had survived. Lyra held Nero close, watching his small chest rise and fall as he breathed. The boy was finally safe, alert, and even smiling softly. For the first time in hours, she felt a fragile sense of peace. Mark, standing near the control panel, wiped the sweat and frost from his brow. His armor was scratched and dented from the ice storm, but he moved with quiet confidence. "The shield will hold for now," he said. "The creature can't break through anymore. You and Nero are safe." Lyra's voice trembled. I don't know how to thank you." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "No thanks. I didn't do it for that. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Life matters no matter whose it is." Lyra thought about the words. Her species had never valued compassion like this. Strength, yes. Survival, yes. But to risk your life for another, that was something she had never seen. Not in her world. Not until now. Nero tugged on her cloak. "Mama, he's my hero." The boy looked at Mark with wide eyes filled with admiration. "You saved me." Mark crouched down to Nero's level. "I just did my best, little one. But you were brave too. You held on and survived." Lyra smiled, tears in her eyes. For the first time,